Just wanted to get on here for something actually really silly. You would see by the title that I've gained 10 pounds overnight, actually 11, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Okay, but before I get into that, hi, I'm Lindsay, and here in the Plant Plan, we talk about fat loss and muscle gain and how to eat well for that. You'll see that I am out here walking. I've been getting my steps this week. And yeah, we're doing our thing. I'm actually in my neighborhood, a little bit further down south in Harlem, just out on the streets. I'm going to be going to a store in a little bit, but I've pretty much almost arrived. I'm going all the way down there. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about the weight gain. And I'm specifically saying weight gain because you don't gain 10 pounds or 11 pounds of fat overnight. Okay? And I know exactly what happened. In fact, that's why I stepped on the scale, to see how devastating the damage was this morning. It's not something that I do all the time, but I figured, you know what, it'd be a good opportunity to talk about that. And so, it is TMI, but it's like day one of my period. So I knew that was coming. Then I ate out, I think twice or three times this week already. A lot of things in outside cooking, like a lot of salt, like probably more carbohydrates than you're used to eating if you had planned your own meal, etc., that are helping you retain more water. Okay, that along with period onset and walking more. So I've walked a lot more this week than I did in the previous week. And not only that, I returned to the gym. So I was back at the gym 2 days this week, meaning that, there's like a little bit of inflammation there, just from being sore and stuff like that, getting back into the habit. So all of those things together contributed to just retaining a lot more water and having a bit of inflammation. It's no big deal. And that's the reason why I'm talking about this now. It is absolutely no big deal. Not worried about it. And it's quite easy to feel discouraged if you are trying to maintain a weight loss, as I am right now, or if you're trying to lose weight and you have a day where you're like, cool, I'm gonna take a little break, and then the next day you feel like you've ruined everything for whatever reason, or for stepping on the scale, or even feeling a little bloated, right? Sometimes you can feel very different day by day based off of either what you had the day before, or any hormonal changes or fluctuations, etc. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is to, I guess kind of help you realize that weight and fat are two different things, right? That's why I talk about wanting to change your body composition. That's why I talk about fat loss and not just general weight loss, although it's more clickable to say weight loss, so sometimes I'll kind of write it like that in a title or something. But the point is that you want the trend lines to be going down and down and down as far as the amount of fat that you have on your frame in comparison to the amount of muscle that you have. Now there's like a creepy guy kind of following me now, which is fun. Oh, for fuck's sake, that guy right there. I hope this talk helped someone. I hope this helped you kind of not be so tied to that number. I know there was a time, especially when I first started my journey, that I was looking specifically at the number as if it was telling me everything I needed to know. And it's not. It's one data point out of many that you should be using if you're trying to determine if you're on the right path or not. I hope that that little chat, that short chat, kind of helped someone understand or decouple that idea of the number meaning more than a total body mass, right? if you are trying to lose weight, that is just one metric, one data point out of many that you should be using to see if you are headed in the right direction. Don't let it get you bogged down. If the number goes up periodically, it is fine, especially as a woman, it is fine. There are a lot of different things going on in our body, and especially after a night out or something like that, or many other things that are probably TMI that I don't want to talk about in this video. If any of there are children now playing all over the place, as they should. So in any case, I'll wait until the noise passes. School is out and work is about to be out too. So there's a lot more shenanigans that are about to pop off in this beautiful, wonderful plaza, which is really great. Boom, there's some school children behind me there. So yeah, actually sometimes during the summer, every week on Saturday during the summer, there is a small farmer's market that pops up here, and it's a Black-owned farm that is the main booth that comes there. So that's a wonderful thing. That has nothing to do with the topic of this video, so I will sign off. It was great speaking with you very briefly about this very important topic. If you'd like to hear more, if this is something that you need to be reminded of on your journey of fat loss or muscle gain or fat loss maintenance, you let me know. Leave me a comment on if you learned anything, or if anything was new information or something that you needed to be reminded of, or if you have any other questions about this whole journey that you're on. Let me know. Drop it in the comments. All right, I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like. That is the price of admission here. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. All right, talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, I just woke up and I was thinking of what I said on the last thing I recorded, and I wanted to bring up another part of that I think is really important. Not only are people tied to numbers, they're also tied to size. And there's this idea that size and health are paired. This is not necessarily true, and I want to talk about it just very briefly. Great examples of this are BMI. Great examples of this are how people in bigger bodies will have folks of all sorts talking to them about health, whereas folks in smaller bodies do not. And this is extremely ironic because, like I keep mentioning, fat and muscle and the proportions of those in your body are more important. They are more important. I recently saw a video of a young lady who was kind of like doing body shots at the beginning of the video, and saying like, look at me. And she was alluding to the fact that she is, conventionally attractive, and she has like a slim frame, a slim body. And then she leans in and says, I have type 2 obesity. And she implores the audience to understand that having more muscle is important. And this brings up the point exactly. This is the problem with BMI. This is the problem with folks tying smaller size bodies to health, right? You can be small and under-muscled. You can be big and have too much fat, right? And vice versa, right? You can be really small and not have like have too much fat for what your body can process and handle, right? So, and oftentimes folks in bigger bodies have more muscle, right? Or have more muscle mass. So, and you know, another example is me. Every time I go to the doctor, they just take weight and the number, and I'm short as hell, right? And so it comes out that I have a high BMI. But if you do a body composition analysis, you'll find that I have a lot of muscle. Um, and so it would make sense to start treating me for obesity or telling me to, you know, do this and that and the third to reduce my weight because that's I'm not metabolically you know, I don't have an issue with that, right? Because I have more muscle, and that muscle is really going to improve or is really um, uh, making me metabolically healthy, right? So, my point is always if you are someone who's trying to lose weight, you're not trying to lose any type of weight, you're trying to lose fat. That's something that folks need to be mindful of. If you have an aesthetic goal, that is wonderful. That's a whole separate other thing. I have no feeling towards that. I am not someone who would shame you for, you know, having, you know, wanting to look a certain way. There is a point where that is like, you know, kind of mental hurdles that you really want to quell. Like you really want to not get into certain types of mental patterns and kind of running away from yourself and not liking yourself and all of that. These are two, for me, these are two separate conversations. You can have aesthetic goals, you can have like a certain level of vanity, and you could also have like a mental issue basically, right? So for me these are two separate things. I don't want to tie them together. I don't want to speak of them as if they are the same thing. They're not. And I will never be, and I don't want to be that type of person that says if you're thinking about your body or your size at all in any way, then you have some sort of problem. Not the case. However, if you are someone who has health in mind, I will tell you that reducing your fat and increasing your muscle, right? Or in other words, improving your body composition are important. They are important, and no one can tell you otherwise. No one can tell you otherwise. There is this like health at every size movement that has been around, and they speak a lot of truth. But I fear that there's a lot of people that don't really go into what they're actually saying and take that to mean, oh, well, you could be healthy at any size for any amount of time. The longer that you are obese, meaning the longer that you have excess adipose tissue on your frame, the more likely that you will have or develop a metabolic disorder or a metabolic issue like type 2 diabetes, for example, right? The same goes for if you look slim and no one ever talks to you about health because there's an assumption there just because of your size. The longer you go being completely under muscled, right? Even though you're keeping, you know, a slim frame, you could also have issues, right? It could be a metabolic issue like type 2 diabetes, or it could wait for you at the end of the line where you can't get up off the toilet because now, you know, you have a sarcopenic situation where you didn't have much muscle, and now because you're getting older, you're losing what little you had. And you don't have enough to pick yourself up off the floor, right? Or off the chair by yourself. So anyway, all of this is to say, I can't believe I'm doing this in bed. but it's important. It's more important than getting up to get this coffee. Um, all of this is to say that I just want us all to be well. I just want us all to be well. If you've gotten this far, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But okay, I've done my job there.